I think that folks who are most attracted to what I'm calling in this conversation, which I'm curious about the language I'm using to
Yeah.
describe this, even as we're talking about um, in these, these third spaces are people who are naturally inclined and curious about the expansion of the holy, right? And I would argue that perhaps that's more faithful return to the nature of the early church, right? That
Hmm.
um, that as the church over history got more concentrated, right, in the physical edifice and the polity of our traditions, right, um, there's always been spaces that we set aside as holy. Now, whether that happened within the four walls of a congregational context, or if it happened, I think about my own lineage, right, within the sacredness of the hush harbors during enslaved period, where people were gathering
Hmm.
outdoors and communing with spirit. I think the notion that there are spaces that we would consider secular and those that we consider sacred, I think, are actually relatively new in human experience and human history. um, that for most people, for most of the arc of time, those two things have been seen as just the way things are and in tandem with one another. And so I'd argue that perhaps what we're doing in this time is returning to something much more ancient, much more um, much more, I don't know, I bristle against language of true, right? But
Oh, sure.
much more integrated to the nature of, um, perhaps what the intentions of our faith were in its earliest expressions and days. And so to me, I understand this moment not just as being a response to, but perhaps an expansion of what and how we understand our engagement with that which we call sacred, and sort of a flattening of that doesn't just need to happen in one particular space that is set apart, but that it's something that you can carry with you and integrate with you into different areas and spaces within your life that you're encountering.